I never believed people when they said some Airbnb rentals hide dark secrets. I always thought those stories were exaggerated, until I rented a house in rural Pennsylvania and discovered a camera feed that wasn't supposed to exist. What I saw on that screen at 2:14 a.m. still keeps me awake at night, because the person standing in the basement wasn't supposed to be there. And according to the homeowner, the basement had been sealed shut for over 10 years. My name is Amy, and this happened in November of last year. I work as a freelance photographer, and traveling across the United States is a normal part of my job. A wedding assignment brought me to a small town outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Since hotels in the area were expensive, I booked an Airbnb that looked perfect online. The listing showed a large 2-story house surrounded by woods. The reviews were positive, and the owner seemed friendly. He messaged me before check-in, explaining that he was out of town and that I would have the entire property to myself. That sounded ideal. When I arrived shortly before sunset, the place looked exactly like the photos. A long gravel driveway led through dense trees to an old white farmhouse. The house felt isolated. Really isolated. The nearest neighbor appeared to be at least half a mile away. At first, I loved it. The quiet, the privacy, the peaceful atmosphere. After unloading my equipment, I spent the evening editing photos and preparing for the wedding shoot the next day. Around 11 p.m., I heard something fall upstairs. A loud crash. It sounded like a box being knocked over. I froze and listened. The sound had definitely come from the second floor. I grabbed my phone and walked upstairs. Every room was empty. Nothing appeared disturbed. No boxes, no fallen objects. Nothing. I told myself it was an old house settling and returned downstairs. About 30 minutes later, I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, walking across the floor above me. Step, step, step. I immediately looked toward the ceiling. The footsteps stopped. The silence that followed felt worse. I checked the entire house again. Still nobody. Every door was locked. Every window was secured. I eventually convinced myself that exhaustion was playing tricks on my mind. Around 2 a.m., I finally fell asleep. Then, something woke me. At first, I wasn't sure what it was. A sound. A whisper. Or maybe just a dream. I checked my phone. 2:14 a.m. At that exact moment, a notification appeared on the screen. Motion detected. I frowned. The notification came from a smart home application I didn't recognize. Curious, I opened it. A live security camera feed appeared. The camera was located inside the house. Specifically, the basement. I sat upright in bed. The listing had never mentioned security cameras. The homeowner had never mentioned them either. Yet there was a live feed streaming from somewhere below me. And there was someone standing in front of the camera. At first, the image was blurry. The basement was dark. The figure wasn't moving, just standing there, watching. I assumed it was the homeowner checking the property remotely. Then, the figure stepped closer. My stomach dropped. The person was wearing dirty clothing. His face looked pale. His hair was long and tangled, and he was staring directly into the camera lens, as if he knew I was watching. Then he smiled. A slow, unnatural smile. I immediately called the homeowner. He answered after several rings. "Hello?" I quickly explained what I was seeing. There was a long silence. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "What basement camera?" I told him exactly what was happening. Another pause. Then he replied, "That's impossible." His voice sounded nervous now. The security system was disconnected years ago. I didn't know what to say. Then he added something worse. "The basement isn't accessible anymore." I felt my chest tighten. "What do you mean?" "The basement entrance was sealed shut after a flood over 10 years ago." I looked at the camera feed again. The man was gone. The basement was empty. The homeowner told me to leave immediately and call the police. I didn't argue. I grabbed my keys, camera bag, and phone. As I headed toward the front door, I heard a sound from beneath the floor. A knock. 3 slow knocks. Directly below my feet. Knock. 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 I ran outside. The cold night air hit me like a wall. I jumped into my car and locked the doors. Then I looked back at the house. A light had turned on upstairs. I knew I hadn't left any lights on. Someone was standing in the second floor window, watching me, motionless. The police arrived 20 minutes later. Officers searched the property while I waited in my car. An hour passed before one of them approached. His face looked pale. He asked me to describe the man from the camera feed. I did. The officer exchanged a glance with his partner. Then he showed me a photograph. It was the same man. The exact same face. The photo had been taken in 2014. The man was a previous owner of the property, and according to police records, he had disappeared 12 years earlier. No body had ever been found. No suspect had ever been identified. The case remained unsolved. Investigators later discovered something hidden behind a false wall in the basement. A small living space, a mattress, food containers, old clothing. Someone had been secretly living beneath the house for years. But here's the part that still terrifies me. No fingerprints were found, no DNA, no evidence identifying who had been staying there. And the security camera? Police technicians confirmed it hadn't been connected to power in over a decade. According to them, it should have been impossible for the camera feed to exist. Yet I still have the screenshot saved on my phone. The image clearly shows a man standing in the basement, smiling, watching, waiting. And every time I zoom into the picture, I notice something new. There isn't just one person in the darkness. There are several, standing behind him, looking directly at the camera, as if they knew I would eventually find them.